We're with David Shapiro. David is a criminal defense attorney in San Diego, California. He's agreed to answer some online questions related to felony DUI. With that said, David, let's go ahead and get into the first question that was asked. What is the difference between felony and misdemeanor DUI?
Well, generally speaking, the difference is obviously one's a felony, one's a misdemeanor. The penalties go up significantly whenever you're charged with the felony as opposed to a misdemeanor. Generally speaking, you could be subject to years in prison for felonies. Misdemeanors would be capped at 1 year or 364 days custody. Felony DUI with injury or felony DUI is what's known as a wobbler. What that means is that it could be filed as a felony or as a misdemeanor in California. That decision will ultimately be up to the prosecutor in your case. And if it's felony DUI with injury, its basic DUI elements would need to be proven, plus that you basically caused an injury by driving, violating vehicle code, or not basically being a negligent operator of a vehicle, and someone else was injured as a result of it. That requires the regular DUI plus the injury component. If it's a felony DUI just because of your priors, that means you have the requisite number of priors, whether it's 3 or more within 10 years, or you have a prior DUI with injury and then pick up a regular DUI, that can be filed as a felony. So, there's the general dynamics between a felony and a misdemeanor, and then obviously the penalties go up significantly if you're charged with the felony DUI versus a misdemeanor DUI with injury or without.
Okay. Next question we had is, a friend of mine was sentenced to state prison for 5 years for a felony DUI, but he had no priors. How is this possible?
Well, if he got 5 years, if he had no priors, then I think it will be possible, because felony DUI with injury or felony DUI generally, if it's filed as a felony, is you could face up to 3 years incarceration. And the way it works in California is, if you were to get more than a year sentence, you would go to prison for 16 months, 2 years, or 3 years. Okay, so that's the base offense level. It's none of those like, well, you could go for 2 to 4 years. Well, you get sentenced to a determinate amount of time, and you know what you're gonna serve. Sometimes with DUI with injury, if it is great bodily injury alleged and proven, that will add a 3-year enhancement to your sentence exposure. What that means is, in this case, your friend may have very well been involved in an accident which caused injury, which caused quote-unquote great bodily injury under the law. And if that allegation was pled and proven by the prosecutor, or pled and admitted to by your friend, then he or she could get another 3 years on top of it. So let's say they got 2 years for the regular DUI, 16 months, 2 years, or 3 years, and then plus 3 years because that DUI with injury caused great bodily injury to another. So that's probably how they got there, if they don't have any priors or anything else. First-time offense, it's scary. You could have no prior criminal history whatsoever, and you get involved in an accident where you were under the influence of alcohol, a .08 or higher. You failed to, commit a duty or perform a duty while driving. You commit a vehicle code violation. Someone's injured other than yourself, and they're seriously injured. I mean, you could be looking at 6 years state prison at 85% without any criminal history in any way, shape, or form.
Wow. Okay. Next question was, what will happen to my driver's license if I get a felony DUI?
Well, your driver's license will probably be the same, whether it's a felony DUI or a misdemeanor DUI, if it's vehicle code section 23153, which is DUI with injury. Remember, that can be filed as a felony or as a misdemeanor. DUI with injury, even if you don't have any prior DUI convictions or administrative suspensions through DMV, would require a 1-year hard suspension of your driving privilege. You would be unable to obtain a restricted license. So your license would be suspended for 1 year with no exceptions. If it's a felony DUI because of your prior DUIs, meaning general DUI, like you go through a checkpoint or something, and it's charged as a felony only because of your priors, you would actually be in a worse position, where if you have a couple of prior DUIs, your license could be ultimately suspended for a significant period of time, if not revoked and deemed a habitual traffic offender in the state of California. So it all depends basically on the priors, but at the very least, you're looking at probably at least a year where you're not going to be able to drive legally.
Okay, and the final question we had is, what types of things should I look for in hiring an attorney for a felony DUI case?
Well, a couple things. First, you want to make sure you feel comfortable with that attorney and/or their staff and their office and their reputation. You want to do as much research as possible into the attorney you're going to hire. You're going to want to see how many types of cases they've handled, how long they've been practicing, but more important, number of cases they've handled. Personally, I wouldn't go too much into the, a lot of times, I'm guilty of this too to a certain degree. You put on your website about what awards you've won and what awards you've received and all that type of stuff. Well, that's great. But you also need to look at the publication that's giving the award. If it's something reputable, that's a great award. That's something that's earned. If it's one of those that an attorney gets it in the mail, you pay $350 and you get a nice plaque and something on your website, that's a whole other issue. So you want to be wary of people who boast all these awards that they got, which for all intents and purposes they paid for. You want to make sure that it's a good match. You want to look at online reviews, but you don't want to put all your eggs in that online review basket. I say so many times, it's almost comical the number of online reviews some attorneys have when I know that they've done exponentially less number of cases than I have, and you wonder where these reviews are coming from, if they're actual clients or not. You also want to look at like I said, the attorney's reputation within a community, within the prosecutor's office, within the bench and the court staff, how that person is received, how that attorney is received. Now, a lot of times you wind up figuring that out on the fly, meaning after you made that decision to hire the attorney already, because you see, especially if it's a felony, when you're in court with that attorney, you see how staff and judges and everybody interacts with him or her, and you kind of get a feeling of what type of reputation they have. But you can definitely do your research, and generally speaking, if a client comes into my office and either meets with me or one of my assistants, that we might not have the police reports, we might not have the state of the evidence against them. So a lot of our prognosis, so to speak, or forecasting what I may or may not be able to do is very speculative, because we don't have the reports. But you want to generally ask, hey, how would you handle this type of case? Or are you familiar with these types of things? You want to hire an attorney who has litigated motions to suppress evidence related to the blood draw, if there was a blood case, related to the arrest, related to the reason for the initial encounter to begin with. If it's a felony, you want to make sure that attorney's litigated several preliminary hearings, 995 motions, jury trials, all those types of things that should basically ensure that the attorney you hire is the right person for your case.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks for your time. If you have any additional questions for David, all you need to do is post them to the comments section below. He's agreed to get back to you with an answer. With that said, again, thanks for your time, David.
Yeah, my pleasure. Always remember, too, to set up your DMV administrative hearing within 10 calendar days of your arrest. So it's 10 calendar days. You need to contact DMV to set up your hearing to at least give your license a shot. And, felony DUIs are no joke. The prosecutors are taking them more and more seriously. People are going to prison who have no record before, but if you put yourself in the hands of a good attorney who knows what they're doing, and you listen and deal with things proactively instead of reactively, hopefully you'll be able to walk out of it with nothing worse than felony probation.
All right, excellent. Thanks, David.
You got it.